our buddy Harley, his name's Harley Owens. He was over in East Tennessee. He called and told us, I've got an area we need to go check out. We was like, okay, Harley, let's go check it out. So we show up, and me, Harley, Robert, and his wife. So we're starting investigating over there. We're finding all these arches. We're finding X's. We're finding ambush points. We found a fresh Dogman track that was 5.5 inches wide. We're finding all this stuff over there, and we're going through everything. We're hearing noises. We're being yelled at. We've been whistled at. Everything's going on. We go down. We go all the way down to the end where we're going to research at. We're coming back. Well, Harley looks at me and goes, hey, why don't we go down here in this flat and go around that way? I said, okay, Harley, I'm with you, man. Whatever you want to do. He's a 20-something-year-old youngin', and I'm an old man. So we go down the hill. We go across this flat. Well, Robert and takes off around the other side down the trail. As we're coming up, we found bear scat and stuff like that on there, and we're looking around, no big deal. We get up on top of this hill, and right straight across from us is this other hill with some 2 huge trees and everything else. And it's an overcast day, and we're looking. Harley said, look, there he is. I said, Harley, that's a shadow, brother. He said, no, seriously, there he is. I said, Harley, that's a shadow. He said, no, it's not. Wait right here and watch it. I said, okay. I'm standing there like an idiot on a hill, watching this, what I consider to be a shadow, going, okay. And it's snowing a little bit. Harley goes down the hill, and he's going through this laurel. He starts down the hill, and he hits going through this laurel, and he steps on a branch, and it pops almost like about as loud as a shotgun. Pow! Well, to my surprise, my shadow stands up. And up, and up, and up. And I see when he stops, when he's standing straight up, where his head is. He reaches up and grabs the tree and leans over to see where Harley is. By then, I'm vibrating so bad with excitement that I could thread a sewing machine while it's running. I take off, I holler, excuse my language, I holler, oh shit, and I take off after it. Because once again, I'm not real bright. I go down the hill, I passed Harley. Harley's freaking out, going, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? I pass him, we come up the hill. Of course, Bigfoot's gone by then. And I look at the tree, and I look up where his head was, because it's etched in my memory where that big old head stopped at, because he had no neck. It was shoulders to head, conical shape, hair standing up on top. And I'm looking at it, and I pull my tape measure, I measure. It's just a hair bit over 8.5 feet. And I look, we're looking for hair on the tree. I look down, and there's 3 perfect toe prints and some soft dirt. You could see where the little toe was, you could see where the big toe was, but the 3 in the middle just stood out, just as perfect as everything. And we're looking at the area where this creature's at, and it's the smartest area anyone could ever want as far as observation, because there's laurel on both sides. There's an open area right through the middle of this little hill, and there's laurel all the way on the side of it, all the way down to the very end, and there's 2 open spots. So we think, hey, he's went down and dropped off to the left. So we start moving up that way to drop off and go after him, and Robert calls up. He is freaking out. These 3 crows shot over his head like they were shot out of a cannon, and something is tearing the woods up. So he's hollering, something's tearing the woods up. It's headed this way. And by the time he says that, everything went dead silent, and it stopped. So we drop off to the left-hand side, and I'm thinking my whole time, we're in these laurel thickets. We cannot see past our own hands. And I'm thinking, this thing's going to kill us right here on the spot. And we come through the laurels, and we hear this little silent, this weird little noise coming in behind us on the other side of that hill. We come out, there's no Bigfoot. And I'm looking, and this human-shaped black figure starts coming out of the cage, and it has red eyes. And they start chattering back and forth. And you can see this huge 7-foot Dogman move, and this thing comes into the living room. It starts moving along the wall and then goes up on the ceiling.
Welcome to Rebel Road. I'm Mary.
And I'm Haley.
And I'm George.
That's right, listeners. We have our very first guest here on the Rebel Road podcast, and we are super excited to introduce him to you.
Our guest today is George Lunsford, and he is a cryptozoologist, a researcher, and field investigator for Bigfoot, 911, and Go Dark Paranormal, and he is a published author.
In our last Road Snack, we read stories from one of George's books. So welcome, George, to the Rebel Road podcast. I think for our first guest, maybe we need a few icebreaker questions. What do you think, Mary?
I love that idea. George, what do you think? You want to
I'm open for anything. Yeah, go ahead. I'm open for it all. Just hit me with it.
Okay, well, let's start with an obvious one. George, do you have a favorite cryptid?
Well, I'm still a Bigfoot fan. I've seen enough of them and been out chasing them up. They're still my favorite, although there's a lot of them out there.
I love Bigfoot. He is the gateway cryptid, isn't he?
He is, and I've been reading books about Bigfoot ever since the 70s. So, it's just one of those things.
Oh, so you say you've actually seen Bigfoot? Where have
I've
you
actually
been that
seen
you've...
5.
5? Wow. Okay. We're going to circle back to that. But Haley, we'll dig into that real deep. Haley, do you have a question for George? Do you have an icebreaker question?
I do have a couple questions for George, but kind of trailing off what George just mentioned about seeing 5 Bigfoots in his book, there is a short story. I think it's called The Momo, and it's about Bigfoot in an area not too far from where I grew up.
Yep.
That's so funny because I asked Mom if she saw Bigfoots because our family is from the mountains of Tennessee. Like, they were mountain people. And I had asked her if she had seen, like, a Bigfoot, and she was like, "No, but we weren't allowed to go in there." And she was like, "They called them something weird. They weren't Bigfoots." And she said they were called Momos. It took her a while, but she remembered it was Momo. Isn't that wild? Okay.
Thank you for
I'm in the North
sharing that.
Carolina side of it, so
All right. So tell us a little bit about the Momo, I guess, if you could expand a little bit. You've said you've seen 5. So of those 5, what would you say is the most etched in your mind? You're never going to forget that. Obviously, you're never going to forget all 5, but which one comes right to the top of your mind when you think about sharing a Bigfoot story?
Oh, my first one. My first one stood out. It was that moment where your brain's flipping through the Rolodex inside going, what in the crap am I looking at?
Uh-huh.
And it's hard to reason at the time because everything happens so fast. These creatures move at unbelievable speed, and you're trying to cope with what you're seeing. And the first one I seen was the biggest one I've seen. He was a monster. He was 8.5 feet tall and about 4 foot across the shoulders.
Oh my goodness.
That is impressive.
That's ginormous. What?
Yeah.
So was he the typical like Bigfoot shade, like the redishy brown color?
No, he was solid black. And we made fun of him. We kind of give him a nickname called Alfalfa because when you got to looking at him, what short time I got to look at him, he had hair sticking straight up right on the top of his head.
Oh,
well, we don't all have great hair days, George. So.
Well, I understand that. I don't have to worry about I'm bald, so
Well,
but he was the one that I seen clearest because I was on a hill and probably 20 yards right straight in front of me on another hill. We had a valley between us full of a laurel thicket or rhododendron, I guess you want to call it. And when he stood up, I seen everything about him.
Wow.
I still remember exactly where his head was on the tree when he stood up. I remember where his hands was. I remember when he looked at me. I mean, I remember all of it.
Wow. And so where was this? What state was that?
It was East Tennessee.
Tennessee, of course. Of course it was.
And George, how close would you say that you were to the Bigfoot? I was reading that, of course, covered in hair, solid black, but I was reading that these Bigfoots put off a foul odor, and you'd have to be pretty close to them to be able to pick up on that, right?
Not necessarily. We have determined from all of our research and all of our investigations that the Bigfoot can turn off and on that odor. I mean,
Oh,
they have an odor like any other creature does, but they can really boost it like a skunk when they need to.
I
And a lot
see.
of times it's to get you to leave them alone or to get you to, turn away. Because thing about Bigfoot, usually if you see one, there's usually 5 or 6 more there. And one will make a noise, one will do something where you're distracted and turn to see what that is, while the other ones move where they're going to go to. Like we've been completely surrounded by Bigfoot. We've been surrounded by Dogman and Bigfoot. I had a Dogman standing about 15 foot, 10 to 15 foot behind me, 7 foot tall, and never knew he was there.
So how
That's
did you find
terrifying.
out? How did you find out he was there?
It was funny. We put on a video that we had shot on one of our channels. We put it on the internet, and I was contacted by somebody on the internet that says, "You need to look at that video. There's something moves in behind you." So we got the video off and we started going through it, and you can see this huge 7 foot dog man move across behind me and was standing behind me. I had no idea he was there. And his head, top of his head's about a foot higher than my head. And he's standing right just inside the tree line. You can
Oh,
see the sticking ears sticking up. You can see the snout. You can see the eyes and everything.
Wow.
right.
So have you encountered Dogman a lot? Is this in Tennessee too, or is this in another location?
Oh, we've Tennessee, North Carolina, both. We've seen the dog man and Georgia.
Oh wow.
We haven't
Okay.
seen them themselves. We found footprints. We found, pardon my language, but a piss post where they pee on the pole to mark their area.
Uh-huh.
We found remnants of them being there. We found claw marks on trees, stuff like that.
Wow. And for anybody, maybe for our listeners who don't know what a Dogman is, would you like to explain what they are a little bit, George? Would you mind?
No, no problem. It's a humanoid canine. Now, there's different variations of Dogman. Some of them look more human with just a dog head and upper body. Some of them look more like a werewolf. And there's a lot of different variations of them. They'll have a different size snouts. Most of them have the sharp, sticking up ears. That's one thing that really stands out about a Dogman is his ears.
Okay. So think maybe like Anubis in ancient Egypt, but not quite, right?
Actually, Anubis was considered to be a Dogman coming up from. There was a big tribe of Dogmen in Africa. This is around this before 400 BC. They found a group of Dogmen, a tribe of them in Africa, and there's also Dogmen tribes in India. Now, these were documented by Marco Polo and Christopher Columbus.
Yeah. I think I
There was a
remember that. They
hundred.
have a name. What were they called? The starts
I,
with a
I,
C?
I can't pronounce it. That's part of the bad thing about being a country boy. Some things you just can't pronounce.
Oh, I
Yeah,
get
it's
that
just
a
one of
lot.
those
I
things.
get that a lot. Yeah, oh shoot. I'll try to find it maybe. But wow. So, George, have you ever seen like an alien? Have you seen a UFO while you've been out there running around?
I've seen I've seen personally, I've seen 2 UFOs, and I've got pictures of probably a dozen more during the, Aurora Borealis when it actually reached down to North Carolina. We got pictures of several different kinds of ships and everything. And, I seen one probably at I was in the military. It was probably about 8 miles away from the ship, and your visibility on the ship from the horizon is 10 miles. This was about 2 miles in, 2, 3 miles in, and I could see it moving above the water. We seen the lights, everything. And of course, back then, you didn't talk about this, or you got big trouble when you was I was in the military about this stuff. And then I seen one when we were flying back from Chicago is actually flying just off away from the plane, and it's a big silver tube. And my wife seen it first, and she showed me.
That's amazing.
Uh, no, I am listening to George. So George, you mentioned that you were in the military and you've seen 2 UFOs. So it makes me think back to one of our other episodes that our listeners would be familiar with, and that's Admiral Byrd and his military experience in the Navy, of course, and what he had also seen. So I kind of was making that connection there while I was listening to you talk. So you said 2 UFOs, But any alien beings?
No, I have not seen any aliens. That's one of the few things I ain't seen.
Well, get out there, George. What are you waiting for? We need
I'm
content.
working on it. I'm working on it. Really am. We investigate everything. You can say you've seen something, we'll go check it out. We don't care.
Yeah, yeah, and I did see
I
that.
got a great deal.
Yes, and we've talked about Bigfoot, we've talked about Dogman, and a little bit about UFOs, and that makes me think also too on the kind of on the cryptid side is Mothman. There's a mention of Mothman as well. Any stories you'd want to share with that?
I wished I had seen a Mothman. I have read tons and tons of stories. I've read tons and tons of sightings, and there's a lot of them I haven't seen as far as the cryptids go because there's a ton of cryptids out there,
There are.
and I really want to see one. I want to see a Mothman so bad I can't stand it.
Yeah. So a lot of your experiences sound like you mentioned Tennessee, North Carolina, Georgia. So kind of following that East Coast, kind of regional history there, right?
Well,
So
we run the Appalachian Mountains.
the the Appalachia. I'm going to stick with how I know how to say it. So yes, definitely running that Appalachia mountain area. What area would you say that you've had the most experience in or maybe the most intense experiences during your research? And I want to we'll circle back, but I have another question. Maybe you can share your most intense or which area you think has the most activity.
Well, I used to think that was East Tennessee, but we've had a lot of increase in activity in all of our areas. We have several research areas, and a lot of it's picked up over the last couple of years, big time. I've been hit with infrasound in different places. I've been growled at. We've been surrounded. We've been, all kinds of things have happened. It's happened in almost all of our areas. So I don't know of any most intense. I know one of the most memorable ones was up in East Tennessee when I heard the samurai chatter where they're talking back and forth.
And who was talking back and forth? Was that the Bigfoot
The
thing?
Bigfoot. Yeah.
Okay.
They were parallel was what was going through one of our areas, and we were lined up, and they were parallel. So I was walking on the other side of a bunch of laurel, so we couldn't see them, but they could see us. And they start chattering back and forth, and I can hear it. And the other guys are like, "What'd you say?" I was like, "I'm asking you, what did you say?" They said, "We didn't say nothing." So we're arguing back and forth, and these things are chattering back and forth and throwing rocks at us and all kinds of stuff.
Oh my goodness.
I said I was going to circle back, and that's what I'm going to do. So that's really interesting to sit there and be present and listening to that banter. Realistically, that's not something that most folks get to experience. So that's really a very amazing story. George, I'm going to circle back to my question. When would you say your earliest experiences began? On a personal level, when would you say you started really having experiences, sightings, whatever the case may be?
With the Bigfoot, it started in what, 22, 23, somewhere in that area is when I
Okay.
first seen my first one. I mean, up till then, I've been in the woods all my life. I'm 59 years old. I spent most of my life in the woods, either hunting or tracking or something in the woods. But I'd never heard them and seen them. At least I didn't think I had until that day when I seen my first one. That opened up everything right there. I mean, I'd read all the books, I studied Bigfoot, all this other stuff, but nothing compares to when you see this creature. It changes everything as far as your perspective of what is in the woods. I used to be skeptical of a lot of stuff. Now I pretty much believe it all. I mean,
Yeah.
we've seen fairy rings, we've seen everything in the world you can think of out there in the woods. I got picture of a white crawler. I've got picture of a little person. I've got faces popped up in trees that disappear in the next frame. Just everything you can think of, I've seen out there in the woods, and I'm not even experienced a third of it yet, or a tenth
Yeah.
of it, or 100,000th of it yet.
Yeah, you said you weren't really much of a believer until that first occurrence. And I think that's pretty common with really anything hauntings, paranormal experiences, UFOs, Bigfoot. you really have to see it with your own eyes to be a believer. So, what about hauntings and paranormal type, supernatural type? What kind of experience do you have in that?
Well, you're probably going to think I'm insane. The first one I had, I was in my late teens, really late teens, and my grandmother had passed away. And I was in my room asleep. It's about probably 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. I woke up and my grandmother, my great grandmother, was sitting on the end of my bed. And I could see through her, but I could smell her perfume. And she just said she stopped to tell me bye. She was going home. And I said, okay, well, she said, I love you. And I said, I love you. And I went back to sleep and she disappeared. Next day, we found out she had passed away. And I thought, well, that was just a dream I had. A nice dream, but it was probably just a dream. I walked back in my room. I could smell her perfume still. And I died once. And there for a long time after I died, I had a connection for probably 20 years where they'd pop up in my car. They
Ghosts
would
would
talk
pop
to me
up?
while driving by the graveyard. They would just show up. Ghosts would show up just out of nowhere for anything.
So what do you think that connection was? I've heard that before, that people with near death somehow are closer to the veil or something, and they'll see
Yeah,
spirits.
when you go through that veil, it seems to open you up, and they realize that they can talk to you. You can see them. They can see you. And honestly, it felt like I was given that gift for a short period of time just so I could direct the people who had passed away and was afraid to cross over. I felt like I was supposed to tell them it's okay, cross over. Because I would drive down the road and right before I would get to where somebody had wrecked, and I didn't know they wrecked there, they would pop up in my car.
Oh.
And I would have to talk to them and explain to them, yes, you got killed in this wreck. Everything's fine. You're allowed to cross over now. And they would do it. They'd disappear out of the car. It was a really strange situation, I guess you could say.
So you've had a little bit of a weird that kind of follows you around almost your whole
Yeah.
life then, huh, George?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
everybody said I was kind of different. I guess that's what they meant. I ain't real short.
I could somewhat relate to that as well, George. So I guess if you're weird or strange, I'm weird and strange as well. Something that you mentioned that I find really interesting is that you had mentioned kind of over, let's say, the last 3 to 5 years, the activity in all of the areas has really increased. And I find that interesting because Mary and I often talk about, and really not just Mary and I, but a lot of other folks, we talk about how the veil is lifting and more is being exposed. So I think maybe we should focus on.
Yeah, I agree. I think besides the activity of the sun and things that's going on out there, I believe that the fact that they're doing the Large Hadron
CERN?
experiments and stuff, I think that's part of the problem we're having with the veil being opened. Is it's creating thin spots, it's creating tears, and the more it does it, the more these creatures are going to continue to show up. Whether like I said, it could just be nothing more than solar activity. Like we're going to have what they call a pink moon in April, and because of the change it causes on the earth, it causes the creatures, the like animals or deer or bear, anything else, it causes them to do things that they normally wouldn't do.
Yeah, I agree with that. So there is a hadron collider there in Tennessee. Is there one in North Carolina? I don't know about
Not
that.
that I know of. I know there's
Okay.
one supposed to be one up out of Oak Ridge, and there's supposed to be then you got the big one overseas,
Right, it's CERN.
and they've already said overseas that they've actually cracked into the 5th dimension.
Right, right. That's what they're working on now. So yeah, we're working on an episode on CERN. So I was trying to pick your brain on because I agree. CERN is what's kind of catapulted a lot of this that's happening. I think it's just somehow messed with the natural order of things.
Yeah, and I think everybody keeps talking about the aliens and stuff, and I think that they're taking note of all this. I mean, you have to figure there has to be life outside this little dinky planet. There's millions and millions and millions and millions of planets out there. And for us to think that we would be the only inhabited planet is kind of arrogant. You don't want to think that way because, I mean, and we're actually a very, compared to a lot of the planets, we're pretty young.
Mhm.
So you got to figure these other, we know there's something out there. We've got pictures of videos and of aliens and spaceships and everything else. They're not hiding from us. They think we're probably primitive, but they're checking us out. And when they do show up, it's because we've reached a point to where they think we either we're a danger or we're ready to join them. It's going to be one of those two things. If it's a danger, then they're going to prevent it. So, we better get our act together.
I can understand that. So, George, you mentioned earlier fairy rings, white crawlers, and I think there was something else. Mary, you can edit this part out.
Little people.
But
I'm
fairy
leaving it
ring,
in.
okay. But I want to hear about those experiences, what you saw, and what made that remarkable. And then also, too, George, have you ever seen what folks call skinwalkers?
Not that I know of, but with a skinwalker, you can't tell because they can shapeshift. They could be a wolf, they could be a bear, they could be several different things, and you wouldn't know unless they show their true selves.
Mm.
But the weird thing with the white crawler and the little people, we didn't know we seen them. Is what the weird part was. We just took pictures of the woods, and upon examining those pictures, that's when we found the white crawler is the same thing as a rake. They're skinny, very very pale creature with big eyes. They don't have no hair on them discernible. They have long, sharp fingers, and they climb trees and everything else. Now we had a group of people we were with up in the LBL, which is land between the lakes, and they were charged by some of the wraiths or white crawlers, and the only thing that stopped them from getting got was they had bear spray.
Mm.
That some good friends of mine though. We actually recruited them into joining our team. We have a team called NCI, which is North Carolina Investigates, and we've expanded out right now. We're in a bunch of different states, and we've spread out a lot. We've got Alan Davies, which anybody knows about him. He is an incredible researcher, been doing it for a long time. We got Martin Groves as one of our people. We've got tons and tons of people everywhere now that are researching and feeding it back to us. We're keeping track of these things, and we're just everywhere now.
Yeah,
Well, that's great.
amazing. So I don't know, George. So can you tell us what was your most scary encounter? Do you have a scary encounter story?
Let me think. I guess actually the only thing I've ever really been scared of, I had a experience with a shadow figure.
Oh,
It
okay.
it freaked me out pretty good. Yeah, I was actually scared of that situation.
Right.
But oh, you want the story?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
tell us a story.
Okay.
You tell us
I
what
was
you
at
want to.
okay. I was at a friend of mine's house. At the time, he was my friend, and he had rented this house that was well over 100 years old. He goes, "Man, I got to show you something. This is a trip." Now it's me, him. And he was a cop at the time, and he had a big old Rottweiler, 130-pound Rottweiler. She usually wasn't scared of nothing. So we go down in his basement, and in the basement, into the uh, granite, the rock and everything in the wall, they had built cages, and in those cages were the chains where they had chained people inside these cages under the house. So we're getting out of, we're looking at this stuff, and all of a sudden, the dog starts whining. This huge dog starts whining and gets in behind us. And I'm looking, and this human shaped black figure starts coming out of the cage, and it has red eyes. And this thing
Yeah, that's
comes out and starts moving across the wall on the other side of the room from us. So I said, "Well, I think I'm going to go back upstairs." And we go upstairs, and the dog beats us upstairs. We
yeah.
get upstairs, and right as he goes to close the door, he turns and the door slams open. And we step back, and this thing comes into the living room. It starts moving along the wall and then goes up on the ceiling. And you can see these eyes the whole time. And you just got this horrible, sickening feeling about you. Your all the hair on your body standing up. It's just this complete, overwhelming feel of dread the whole time we're seeing this thing. I said, "Well, I gotta go. I'll talk to y'all later." And I
Probably
left.
right there. Yeah, I've been saying, "Nope, out."
Yeah, I was nice about it, but I didn't stay long. So that was probably the worst thing. I mean, we've had other encounters with different creatures stuff, but I've never felt scared so far. I'm
I've
kind of a hard headed old dumb country boy who's in the Navy who ain't got a lot of sense. So it takes a lot more to get to me. The only thing that really scares me besides that was snakes. I don't do snakes.
well, so what do you think that was? So it's like a creepy shadow thing. So like a demon maybe or something. I don't even know what that would have been.
It felt like a demon. I don't know if it was. I just know that I've never felt that kind of a dread before. That kind of, hopelessness and dread and fear all mixed into one. And it was consuming.
And did you ever go back to that location?
No, no, I didn't go back. I said, dude, you're going to move before I come back to your house.
Well, I can't say I would blame you. And I agree. I think that kind of sounds like a demon, not just a shadow, uh, especially with the eyes in that story.
Yeah, it was weird because the red eyes was what stood out.
Yeah. Wow.
That's a good one.
Kaylee and I are like, okay, well, okay.
Well, I've experienced a few things over my lifetime. It's been a busy life.
Yeah, yeah, and
I've
you
had
also
fun, no,
yeah. Nope,
I've had
finish
funny
your thought.
things happen too. So, I had a ghost that used to flip me off and laugh.
Oh my goodness.
So, we was up in LBL. This happened again, and I hear the ghost, and then it grabs my buddy Tim. It's in my ear, and in my ear, I mean, you could feel the breath and everything. It said, "Hey, hey, hey," a female's voice. And I heard it, and I turned, and about the time I turned, it grabbed him and pulled him backwards. So we've experienced all kinds of fun stuff.
And how did Tim respond to that?
He's like, "What was that?" Because Tim he had never dealt with any kind of ghosts and stuff before. He was 100% just Bigfoot.
Right?
I mean,
Okay.
he had never seen before we all got together and become a team. He had never seen a Dogman print till we showed him one in his area.
Wow.
It stands out. That I think the first experience everybody thinks about it more than the rest of them because it stands out so much more because it is what grabs your attention most of all. After you see your first one, you're seeing the other one. You're going, "Hey, that's a Bigfoot. Look, he's looking at me." It's not as big a deal unless you're being bluff charged or you're being. I've had a rock thrown at my head the size of a baseball, and it missed my head maybe 12 inches, and it hit the tree behind my head and exploded the tree limb.
That's crazy. So when you go out and investigate, do you record the audio? And obviously you do video as well. Do you do casts of like the foots or the feet that you find and the claw marks that you find? Do you take DNA samples? Are you
It,
that kind
well,
of an investigator?
we would be if we had the resources. Right now, we
Okay.
don't have anyone we can really send anything to. We were sending it to a couple of different colleges, but they've left that part of their investigation stuff or their research where they were done. They don't do it anymore, or people turned out not to be reliable when you
Okay.
sent the stuff in. So
Mhm.
we're looking for a place to send DNA and stuff like that now. We don't have it right now, but we're looking for it. We do collect hair. We do, if we can get, see, that's the problem of where we research. The ground is hard. So you
Right.
don't get a lot of chances to get prints. I've got, I poured one print in there of a juvenile. It's not a great print by any means, but I can tell what it is. I can show you what it is. And then I've got one print of what I believe was a dogman from the land between the lakes. It was right down below our camp where they stepped in the mud. The only problem is the back part of the print, a deer had stepped in it.
Ugh.
So I've got a partial dogman print with a deer print mixed in together. but I had to pour it anyway because I couldn't pass it up. And it's just different things like that. We try to do as much as we can as far as the scientific stuff, but in these mountains, it's a lot harder than people realize it is because you got a lot of foliage, like
Mhm.
leaves and stuff on the ground. It's hard ground. Most of it's rock, so you don't get a lot of prints.
Okay. And then how often do you say that you would go out investigating?
Well, it kind of varies because we all work.
Yeah.
Well,
Yep.
I don't work right now because I'm out. I'm no longer employed at this moment. When we all worked, it was just trying to find the time, some weekends to go out here and there as much as we could. We're getting together more and doing more, but we're being invited to a lot more stuff. We're going to a lot more of the conferences and festivals and stuff like that to speak and to tell the
Mhm.
stuff we've seen and help people investigate. And we always leave ourselves open for people to come to us and tell us their stories because a lot of people won't talk about what they've seen. They won't talk about what they've encountered, and it just eats away at them. They don't have an outlet. We try to be an outlet. So we're
Okay.
not going to make fun of you. We're not going to laugh at you. We're going to talk to you and find out what you've seen. And if you're worried about it, we'll come to investigate your area. We've done that several times.
Right. And I love that. And is that how you started writing your books? Because I love your book. I've got one of them here. And this book is honking. It's like over 500 pages
Yeah,
of
that was the
amazing
USA
little
edition.
stories. So maybe tell us a little bit about how you write your book.
Well, once again, I'm a weird person. uh, I'm the guy that said, "Okay, I want to be an actor." So I was an actor part time for 15 years. I did movies, I did shorts, I did commercials, I did all music video, I did public service announcements. I did all that for a while, and I said, "Okay, I'm done with this." Then I said, "I want to be a writer." So I started writing books, and the stories and stuff in these books is when I was young. Our grandparents would get us. We didn't have a lot of. We had 3 channels on TV, we had radio, and that was it. So the older people would sit down and talk to us, and they'd tell us stories about the local area. And I got thinking about, thought, people just don't do that no more. So let me write them down. That way, people will be able to, read these stories to their kids, or kids will read them to their grandkids, and all this other stuff, and these stories won't be lost. That's why I did it.
Well, I'm thankful that
That's
you did. I love them. They're great.
yeah,
I appreciate it.
that's really great because you are correct, George. So much knowledge and wisdom and these firsthand accounts are being lost with every generation as the world kind of change and evolves and how we interact with our own families within the our own four walls. So I think that's great. Absolutely, we have to be sharing these kind of stories and letting the younger generations know what's out there. I think Mary and I've kind of spoke on that in some of our other episodes where it really becomes just these wild stories that nobody believes. And that's why it's so important to continue to share those firsthand accounts.
That's my goal. That was my goal with these books.
That's great.
You're doing a great job with them so far.
Well,
So
thank you.
you're welcome.
Now, George, here we are in 2026. Are you shocked that people are reaching out to you and loving your book?
Really, I am. Like I said, I'm just a poor old dumb country boy. I write and I hope people like it. And when I people tell me they do, it makes me happy. But honestly, I'm just passing on somebody else's stories. Theirs
Yeah.
are not my stories. These are your stories, and that's why I'm putting them out there for you to have, so you could have a library or a reference for. I mean, there's more stories that I put out by a long shot. My last book I put out was European edition. Now I don't know. A lot of people don't know the stories I put out in latest book because they're not from them areas. I mean, you would never guess how many different stories I found from 50 countries in Europe of a character just exactly like Robin Hood, where he stole from the rich and give to the poor, or took care of.
What's the title of that book? Your latest book? Yeah. Tell us the title of your latest book, George.
Okay, it's Legends, Myths, Monsters, and Ghosts, the European edition.
Okay, so that's your newest one. Yeah, I have
Yeah,
the USA edition.
that was actually my first 4 books was Legends, Myths, Monsters, and Ghosts. the southern edition, and then I did northern edition, then west, and then east or south, I
Okay.
should say. And I
Okay.
did all those, and and I was contacted by my publisher I have now, and they said, "We want you to write books for us." I said, "Okay." So I took those 4 books, I put them in the USA edition, then I added probably twice as many stories in there, and I added 5 of the Indian tribes, which I know you're not supposed to say Indian, but when I talk to the elders, they refer to themselves as Indian, so I refer to them as Indians out of respect. So,
Right.
because people, they're Native Americans. Well, actually, they're not. They came here from uh, Asia. So, most of the tribes came up from Asia across the Bering Straits, and then some come from up in the South America, and then some come from north over from Europe. That's where most of your Indian tribes come from. There's none of them actually truly only from the United States.
I didn't know that.
But yeah, the new one is it's got all kinds of cool stuff in it. Actually, the European edition, I kind of like it a little bit better because it gives me a lot more background, which feeds over to the United States. Like werewolves and everything started over there.
Yeah.
Dogman started over in Asia. You have so many different creatures that they brought when people moved here from over there, they brought with them. That's why we've got them here.
I'm glad that you mentioned the European edition because that's kind of the one that I was focused in on. And I think I'm going to have to pick that up and go through that because we are here in the United States. We are familiar with the stories. We are familiar with the experiences that folks share, the ones that are willing to share. But
Yep.
you don't hear about these similar stories in other areas and regions and countries. And I think kind of the story that you shared just a few minutes ago about the Robin Hood, how that's almost a real life scenario. I think that's great. I'm not condoning stealing from the rich, but I think that's great. And, the stories from a European perspective and region, I think you're always fascinated with what you don't know, right? So I think that would probably be very intriguing of the different ones that you have out there. That's great. So
And they're
thank you
fun
for sharing that.
stories.
Yeah.
They're fun, just enjoyable story. I enjoyed writing these because of other things some of them I've never even heard of. But I mean, I had a blast with this one. I really did, and I wrote it, and I enjoyed every moment of it. I'm probably going to get away from the Legends, Myths, Monsters, and Ghosts series. I'm working on a couple special projects, which will be out probably in November. And then I'm working on a sci-fi and what you call a revenge book.
Oh,
A
well, we'll look
revenge
forward
book.
to those.
Yeah, it it's going to be. It's not made for the faint of heart.
Well, is revenge ever really for the faint of heart?
Well,
You think
no,
about
that's
that.
true. But my character comes up with some really unique and fun ways of killing people. So, they
Well,
should
that's
have never
getting a
messed
little
with him.
dark.
Yeah, it's really, really dark. And it's fun. It's gonna be if you like that kind of book, it's like John Wick on acid.
Well,
So,
that was that sounds great, actually.
they
So
killed
you
his
said,
dog, this one they kill his wife. So,
oh, bummer. So you said November 2026 is when this book is coming out?
No, that will be my special projects come out.
Oh, that's your special one that's coming.
I've got 2 projects I'm working on. One is done. My wife I'm gonna be self-publishing these. So my
Okay.
wife's going to edit and format them, and I'll be releasing those through Ingram Spark, which will put them in every bookstore possible. They do Barnes& and Noble, they do Amazon, they do Books A Million, everything.
All right. And can you tell us the name of that?
Not yet.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll stay in
Sorry.
touch. We'll stay in touch so we can
It's
get the
super
info.
secret.
It
Yeah.
it will be fun it will be fun for anyone that gets them. I'll put it to you that way.
Okay. Great. I'm looking forward to that.
So you mentioned your wife, George. Does she go on investigations with you? Is she seen things too?
No, my wife is a city girl. I imported her from New Orleans, and,
Really important.
she's not a woman to walk around in the woods. So, But actually, she will be going with me on a couple of investigations for ghosts because she loves abandoned buildings and stuff like that. So we're going to go. We actually may go this weekend to the Bridge to Nowhere out in Bryson City,
Okay.
and we're going to go out there and check it out. There's supposed to be a burial cemetery above the tunnel that's there. So they're supposed to be really active as far as ghosts goes and chains and voices and all that good stuff. So we're going to go out and check that out. But usually, she usually makes sure that people can read my books because I'm not the most literate person in the world. So she makes sure that you guys can read them when I put them out.
That's great. So you're the power horse and she's the brain.
She is definitely the brain. She has a master's degree in business and a bachelor's degree in computers, and I can work. I used to work on air conditioners, so you know.
Yep, nothing wrong with that. My daddy did that. The AC work.
I've done it for longer than I want to think. It's over 20 years. So, you know, my group, I had to brag about them because these guys they're actually a lot better than I am. These guys are wonderful. It started out just me and my buddy Robert Effler. Started out just me and him. Then we recruited our buddy Tim, and Tim's had years and years and years of Bigfoot hunting. Robert was experienced in ghost hunting, and then he got into Bigfoot. They pulled me in, and we just been going crazy ever since then. And we've been researching everything, and it's really been good. We've recruited out all across the country and got new members, and they've all had incredible encounters. Better than mine, which is, well, I won't say better than mine, different than mine. My first one will never be beat because I took off after this 8.5 foot creature because I'm not real intelligent. So, you know,
Wait, come back. I need a picture.
he was a big old boy. And funny thing was, he never grunted. He never made any gesture other than just standing up and grabbing the tree to see where Harley was. But man, he moved fast because I come through those walls like a lightning bolt, and he never even. It was like it would. The thing about we've noticed with Bigfoot, if you ever watched some of these videos and all this other stuff, one of the best ways to tell if they're fake is when the Bigfoot walks, he always walks 1 foot in front of the other, like in a line. When humans walk, we walk with our feet beside each other. You know, they're off at angles on each side. Well, Bigfoot don't they? Like I said, they walk straight on. Plus, when we walk, no matter how much you try, your head still bobs up and down some. Your body does. Bigfoot doesn't. He absorbs all the everything in his knees and legs, so his head stays steady at the same height as he walks. It doesn't bob up and down at all.
Well, I don't know what to follow up with that. That's amazing.
Also seen it. I'm like, so they walk like a runway model.
They walk better because they walk really fast.
Wow. See, that's something I've never even heard of before. So
We've noticed it several times, and that's how we've been able to find out, you know, a lot of these videos, if they're true or not, if they're real videos or not. Because if you watch the way they walk and the stride that they take, an average stride, you got a Bigfoot 7 foot tall, he's going to do at least a 4 foot stride when he steps. And most people can't make that stride.
I'm short, so I've got little strides.
And one thing you look for too is when you look at tracks on a Bigfoot, you're going to notice two things. They're always wide and flat, and they have a break in the center of their foot called a metatarsal break. It's developed that way over the years because that way when they step on branches or rocks and stuff, the foot will flex instead of being stiff like ours is. And they can actually get more grip and move faster with that metatarsal break through the woods, through rocky terrain and stuff like that without them hurting themselves. It's just fun.
And it's a lot of fun. And you get to speak at Bigfoot conferences and things like that, right? And you teach people all of these things, right?
We do. Yes, that's what the more people know, the better they are, and they're better able to cope with these things if they do run into them in the woods. And because when you run into them in the woods, if you freak out, they're going to freak out. 9 times out of 10, if you encounter a Bigfoot in the woods, they're not going to bother you. Now, there is always that 1 or 2 occasions where you've got a really pissed off Bigfoot and he's not happy and he's going to make sure nobody else is happy. Or you've got one out there who's been kicked out of the tribe or out of the clan, and they're just in a really ill mood.
So, George, let me ask you this maybe. What do you think a Bigfoot actually is?
You know, we've had this discussion, and I think they're their own species. I think that they are what they are, and they've been here longer than all of us. I used to believe that they were descendants of the giants because it made sense. And the fact that when they found that cave in, was it Lovelock, Nevada, and they pulled out that giant sandal that belonged to the red-headed giants out there, and they took a Bigfoot casting, and it was a perfect fit for that sandal.
Wow. So you're talking about
I
Lovelock Cave there in Nevada?
Yep. And I
Yep.
still I still in my heart believe that they are the descendants of the giants because there wasn't, how can I put this? There wasn't a lot of mention about Bigfoot in between the time when the giants disappeared, before I mean, you've got giants now. Anything over 7 foot tall is considered giants. So, I mean, that's half the NBA. So,
Right.
you know, these creatures, there wasn't a lot of mention until after the giants had gone. You had giants overseas. You had, David versus Goliath and Goliath's four brothers and all that. And there's always been giants everywhere. I mean, they had the giants over in Afghanistan and everything else. But I still have a tendency to believe they're an offshoot of the giants because the DNA sequences from Bigfoot actually have some human DNA in it. So, and that was from Dr. Ketchum. She actually found that during her studies of genealogy of Bigfoot. When she did all that genome stuff with Bigfoot, they actually found that there was a percentage of human DNA in the Bigfoot. So that's why it makes me still lean towards them being descendants of the giants. And I talk about it in my first book, the one you have.
Okay.
And I put forth some, proof of it. But now I'm still, I don't know now because these things are doing things I never could imagine.
All right. They're definitely a fun mystery.
Oh yeah, and I love it. I love every second of it.
Yeah. So, George, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find more information about you? Like, what is your YouTube channel? You are from, what is it, the North Carolina Investigates team, correct?
Yep.
Yep. So, share
All
some of
right.
that information with them.
All right. If you want to find out about an old fat bald country boy, you go to author George Lunsford .x10host.com, or you can go to YouTube and look up NCI, North Carolina Investigates. We're on there live every Tuesday and Thursday. Matter of fact, we have a show tonight. You can even go to my store. It's Lunsford Gifts and Things, and we have all kinds of weird crap that me and my wife have designed in there. We got everything from Bigfoot on golf balls to tennis shoes to T-shirts to cups to you name it. We got everything. It's got a lot of Indian or Native American stuff in there because my wife's half Cherokee. Well, she's actually half Cherokee and half German, so she's either on the warpath or declaring war on me. So, um, and I'm on a lot of the social media. You can look me up. Just throw my name on Google, and you're going to find all kinds of weird stuff about me.
Okay, great.
Search with caution.
All right. And we'll be sure to link all this in our show notes so our listeners can definitely find you. Haley, do you have any other questions for George?
I do not have any further questions. George, it's been great. It's great meeting you virtually. And I hope all of our listeners have enjoyed this as well.
Yeah, George, we've loved having you on the show. Thank you
I
so much
thoroughly
for
enjoyed
being
it.
our
I hope you guys
first
wasn't
guest.
disappointed.
No, not at all. We can't
Not
thank
at
you
all.
enough for coming on.
Anytime.
All right. Well, I guess this wraps up this episode of Rebel Road Podcast. Haley, what do you think?
I think we need to join George in a little investigation sometime.
Well, come on down. We'll be more than happy to take you with us.
That sounds like a great time. Let's
I
get it
think
on.
we might do that.
Yeah, get it on the to-do list.
Go ahead.
Okay.
We'll take people out anytime. It don't matter who it is or anything else. If you want to go when we're going, we'll take you with us.
All right. Be careful what you wish for. We are a global podcast now, so who knows who might join us. No, that sounds great. Thank you, George. And to all of our listeners, you heard George, the invite's there. If you yourself have some stories that you want to share, like George has here today, definitely reach out to us. As we've mentioned, we are looking for more and more guests this year in 2026 for the Rebel Road podcast. So we are looking forward to that. And George, we're going to hold you to it. We'll see you soon.
I'll get out of y'all's hair, and I hope y'all have a wonderful day, and thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, friends, I hope you all enjoyed the banter with George as much as Mary and I did. And as always, if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend or a fellow weirdo. We don't discriminate. And until next week, keep it weird and always pull it back to Jesus.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.